Hey you guys, it's your girl Antoinette, and today we come at you with a video, and it's called 13,000 immigrants just entered New York City from Canada. Why would is the Canadians coming to New York, or is the southern border people going up, then coming over or whatever, however, coming back down? I don't get it. New York is already too full. I wouldn't go to New York personally myself, but let's check this story out. And don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, turn your notifications on so you can see me. And let's get into this video.
We spotted a New York City yellow taxi cab more than a 5-hour drive away from home. We're told taxi, rideshare, and private drivers are all part of the plan to get migrants from here to New York City.
So when we think of immigration, the first place that comes to mind is the U.S. southern border.
Right.
But a faster way to get here to America's #1 sanctuary city is to enter along the Canadian border, which New York touches, and then take a bus or a cab the rest of the way. Which thousands of people have been doing for the last several months, using some of the very same cabs you see right here.
Excuse me, where are you from?
India.
India.
We confirmed this is the meeting point for migrants after crossing the Canadian border on foot.
Where are you going now?
New York.
New York City.
Yeah.
They just want to go to New York City.
Right.
I got them on cameras all the time.
Go across the road from my house, they come over the hill. Canada is only a 10-minute walk.
We saw agents arresting a Lithuanian national, the man detected by a sensor in the woods. This is the new reality for agents in the Swanton sector. 295 miles of tough and varying border terrain across 5 northeastern counties of New York.
Officials say some Mexican migrants believe there's a better chance they'll get into the U.S. and they can fly to Canada without a visa.
This boundary marker divides the U.S. from Canada. Walking across is actually quite doable.
We have relevant intelligence that the Mexican cartels are involved just by the sheer volume of migrants. This is a highly sophisticated operation that we're talking about.
So as it turns out, the U.S. has a border crisis at both of its borders at the exact same time. But what hasn't occurred to anybody in New York is that this proves our policies, like our generous right to shelter that offers temporary housing to anyone who asks, could be the reason why 65,000 people are still in our shelter system. Because even though the city's shelters are full, and New York has been evicting people on a rolling basis, with thousands fleeing extreme poverty from across the world headed here via both borders at the exact same time, the people leaving our shelters are just doing so that there can be more room for folks arriving right here at this bus terminal in their exact same situation. And critics say this is because New York has the best benefit package of any city in America. Not only is it a sanctuary city that won't share anyone's immigration status with the federal government, New York doesn't just offer temporary housing to single adults, we offer unlimited housing to families, oftentimes in former luxury hotels, which have been converted into emergency shelters. Now this system, it's been great for keeping families with children from having to sleep on our crime-ridden streets, but critics say it's so good that it's actually increasing immigration numbers to New York City at a time when the city is just unable to afford this humanitarian crisis all by itself. And with an offer of not just food and a place to sleep, but clothing, free public education, free healthcare, and even $1,400 monthly prepaid debit cards for families, there are some who think this system may not be able to wind down the asylum crisis as quickly as originally hoped. Now, nobody in their right mind wants to see the less fortunate sleeping out here on the sidewalk, but this brings us to the real reason why the asylum crisis in New York may go on forever. Everything the city does to decrease the number of asylum seekers its laws mandate it care for actually make it the most desirable destination for immigration anywhere in the country. But that wasn't supposed to matter. This was all supposed to stop just a few months ago when the U.S. secured its southern border, drastically decreasing immigration numbers in places like Texas. But as you're about to see, not only is the southern border not 100% shut, the northern border is pretty much 100% open, and people are quickly learning that crossing there is the fastest way to come here.
I just want to do those people think it's worth it to just come down here and still basically pretty much kind of be in the same condition they was already when they was at home? Like, why are you... I mean, you're going to be homeless over here too, because we ain't got nothing. Only thing they're going to really give you if you have children, that's your $1,400. I mean, that's what you're coming over here for, is for that. Because, I mean, dang, we ain't got no houses, especially New York. Texas is Texas. I mean, what else can you do?
So here we are at the Port Authority bus terminal, and if you want to come to New York, this is the cheapest destination. Yes, you can take a cab to get here, but the buses that bring you here will go from upstate New York right across the Canadian border, and they'll get you here for $70 to $90.
A gas station here in New York State near the Canadian border. It's located more than 300 miles from New York City. We confirmed this is the meeting point for migrants after crossing the Canadian border on foot. Where are you going now? New York. New York City. Yeah.
Why?
So this interview takes place just across the Canadian border in upstate New York, where people first begin their journey into the city, and they're meeting folks from all over the world. This guy was from India, and he states that he's on his way to New York City, which is pretty convenient because you can get picked up in a gas station parking lot by a bus that's headed to this station. And one of the most popular bus companies to use is Trailways. And the bus stopping at the gas station in upstate New York probably operates on one of the New York to Canada lines. It looks like they handle both Toronto and Montreal, and there are stops along the route in upstate New York. And what's ironic about this is a few months ago, New York sued Texas bus companies for bringing people here from the southern border, and they would not allow them to use this very same terminal. But here in this terminal, you can still get a bus from the northern border. And as you're about to see, the northern border is becoming an increasingly popular crossing destination.
While our eyes look at the flow of people crossing the southern border, here locals will tell you an alternate route into the U.S. through Canada is becoming more popular.
I got them on my cameras all the time, going through the woods.
They'll cross the road from my house, they come over the hill. Canada is only a 10-minute walk.
Alan Racine lives right.
That sounds like pretty light security.
Right. But have y'all ever wanted to live in Canada? Like, I just want to see, is it different living in Canada than the United States? Like, how is it? And like, I know like they have like free health insurance, but like, is life better in Canada or is it in the USA? Like, which one is better? Because like I said, I've always wanted to try to go to Canada. I always want to live in Canada. But I want to know, like, how is it? Like, is the jobs better? Do they pay better? Or wait. Because people, I want to come to the United States, but don't nobody act like they want to leave. Except for a few people. I want to just try it and see.
North, especially when compared to the militarization we see at the southern border, where many more people have been crossing. And that's probably because travel from the northern border is going to be more expensive. It's further away. But it looks like the crossing itself might be much easier. Neighbors being interviewed say people are just walking right across their land. And what's surprising about this is with the northern border being the longest one in the entire world, you'd figure that the security up there would be tighter than it is. But I guess it's never been that way, or at least it's never needed to be until recently. That is until some recent changes to Canada's immigration laws came into play, which may be part of the reason why people are now using this as a way to get to America. But first, once you understand how long and big and vast the northern border actually is, you'll realize that once it's open, shutting it is going to be near impossible.
The northern border is the longest land border in the world. We looked at the data and found a sharp increase in the number of encounters as of June, 16,459 and counting. The number already exceeding last.
So it looks like the northern border could see 3 times as many crossings this year as last year by the time the year's over. And because it's so long and so vast, even if the southern border were 100% secure, you'd probably still have people crossing the northern border just because it can never be secured. And with vast, unguarded expanses of land up there with no one patrolling them, people can just walk right on through, weather permitting. And in the spring and in the summer, people won't experience the tough conditions that are going on right now down south, that's for sure. But the wintertime, however, that's going to be a totally different story. But so far this year, we're already halfway to 30,000 crossings by December. And is that a lot compared to what's happening down south? No, but crossings this year are 33% higher than they were just 3 years ago.
A
Officials say some Mexican migrants believe there's a better chance they'll get into the U.S. through Canada, and they could fly to Canada without a visa. This man says he flew there and then crossed over.
So a lot of the reasons for this new surge in crossings up north have to do with Canada, not just the laws that they may have recently changed, but the fact that 3 of their largest cities, Montreal, Toronto, Ottawa, they're all very close to New York. And they've all got international airports. And apparently you don't need a visa to fly to Canada from some countries where you would need a visa if you were flying to the U.S. Which means if the goal is to cross the U.S. and head straight to New York City, you might as well get as close as you can without any hassle, and that's where Canada comes into play. But there's a misconception about crossing at the U.S. northern border, because although sometimes it might be easier than the southern border, other factors make it completely impassable and dangerous in ways none of the people crossing could ever hope to imagine.
All like animals and all like that, yeah. I think, and then like the weather.
So New York City right now, mid-80s, late summer, t-shirts, shorts. This is great weather, but in just a couple of months, this is all going to change. And it's going to happen even faster in Canada, where they have some of the longest winters in the entire world. And many people unknowingly put themselves in danger trying to cross that border at the wrong time of year.
These are footprints right along the Canadian-U.S. border, believed to have been left by migrants crossing over in the dead of night, where they can be exposed to hypothermia and frostbite.
They're coming out with these materials that absorb the moisture and then freeze.
You know, I couldn't even imagine being outside in that weather for more than just an hour or two.
Right.
You're gonna need the warmest clothes you could possibly get at a sporting store like REI, yet many of the people trying to make this journey, they're doing it totally unprepared for those below zero temperatures. And the climate in Canada when it's not summertime is totally different than what many people in Venezuela or Mexico, where they might be coming from, are even equipped to deal with. You've got snow, which gets wet and freezes, there's frostbite, but sadly, if your home country is being destroyed and you're fleeing extreme poverty and disaster, perhaps persecution, the thought of making a dangerous journey that you've never done before and don't really know how to do might actually seem like the best option to many people. Which sadly is something the same criminal gangs operating at the southern border are now capitalizing on up north.
I have never seen anything like it.
They have come from 66 different countries, with approximately 49% coming from Mexico. Single adults, mostly men?
Mostly men.
Most of the people who come
Look
are
at
involved
'em.
in smuggling. This video shows it.
So look at that. Who would have thought that the same gangsters that are making millions of dollars down south would see the same business opportunity up north? But that brings up some big questions that reveal Canada's role in all of this may not exactly be helpful towards U.S. immigration policy. Because these cartels, they're based in countries like Mexico. Why are they able to make a profit operating along the Canadian border in a country that they're not based out of? Could it be that Canada's recent changes to who they'll grant visas to as tourists have had something to do with all of this? And could it be that cartels and smugglers are taking advantage of those rule changes to expand their illegal businesses, which profit off human suffering? And surely Canada's a reasonable country full of some of the nicest people in the entire world.
They are nice. I have seen like a lot of like Canadian people like visiting and stuff like that. Like they are nice. I would say could y'all literally just try to run away from another place, from your home country, and just escape through like all that type of like weather? You know, like they got wild animals in the woods and stuff like that. Then you just gonna go across snow, and then like let's just say like you coming from Honduras or something like that, just anywhere, like, you know, because mainly down south, you know, like it's more, you know, hot. And then you have to go through Canada where it's cold. Like, I don't think I'd be prepared. I would be more scared than anything. Me personally, I would be like, I think I'm gonna get my flight back home. I think I'm gonna try it again, see what I can do, because all this snow and stuff like that, then I ain't got no house to get in. No, I think I'm gonna try it again.
Maybe somebody in America could make a phone call over to Canada and say, hey, we share resources. We fly our fighter jets over your territory to help you stop Russian bombers that are invading. Could you perhaps help us out with our border security issues? Some people would say that sounds utterly ridiculous. What could Canada care about U.S. immigration policy? But the fact of the matter is we have a shared border and neither of us can police the whole thing. Unless, of course, our friends on the Canadian side of the border aren't aware of the problems that America might be experiencing because of their recent rule changes.
Up until a few weeks ago, Canada did not require Mexicans and some other foreign nationals to have travel visas to fly to the country.
Some folks utilizing the ETA program were being arrested here in the United States for illegal entry within 24 hours of their landing in Canada.
Can you send them back to Canada?
Unfortunately, no.
Huh, so there are people who entered Canada as tourists who were then apprehended less than 24 hours later in America without official permission to be here. Now I realize that the southern border is getting all the attention because that's where the main humanitarian crisis exists. But you've got people up north putting their lives on the line to try and get into the country, working with cartels. It's a terrible situation up north too, and perhaps something could be done about that, even though it's not as big as the southern border. But as you're about to see, it's not just the cartels that are making a lot of money off this new system of migration that passes from Canada into the United States. No, there are a lot of interests here in America that are also making thousands of dollars off of it who would probably be upset if that border were fully secure. And this operation is much tighter and more well-oiled than you could ever imagine.
We spotted a New York City yellow taxi cab more than a 5-hour drive away from home. We're told taxi, rideshare, and private drivers are all part of the plan to get migrants from here to New York City. One driver agreed to share.
So the fact that taxis and rideshare drivers like these two Ubers right here potentially are involved in ferrying people from upstate New York down here who've just come into the country was absolutely shocking to me, and the rates they're charging are through the roof. $150 to $200 per person. That could be $1,000 for bringing 5 people here in one trip. And what's crazy is the TLC.
I mean, the thing of it is, yeah, because there's a lot of them. You don't know what them people gonna do to you when they get in your vehicle. When they get in your vehicle, ain't no telling what they gonna do. Say yes, 200 up higher cent. You 200, you 200. You know they gonna be at least about 4 or 5 deep in. You know they gonna be at least that many people in the car. No. Yes, I want my money off top.
Licensed rideshare drivers, they're not gang members, they're law-abiding New Yorkers. But there's a massive opportunity right now for them to drive people here and make way more money than they're making locally. On top of that, this is all happening at a time when local Uber drivers here in the city are getting locked out of the app because there are too many drivers and Uber is having a pay/wage discrepancy fight with them. Uber's required by law to pay its drivers for idle time when they don't have a passenger and they're technically logged in. But now that they're locking people out of the app, drivers are saying they've gone from making about $300 a day to around $150 a day. And if you've got a car and you could do rideshare and you're not working, you could make $1,000 profit by bringing people from upstate down here if you know where that gas station's located. But the question that immediately brings up is this gas station that everybody knows about in upstate New York, how is that allowed to exist? Why is it not swarming with federal agents who are there cracking down on the gangs that are benefiting from human suffering?
We're well aware of the yellow cabs. We're aware there is a border operation to pick people up.
And there's money to make.
There's always money to be made.
Canadian law enforcement confirming smugglers are behind it all. And like at the southern...
So local authorities, they already know about this gas station, bus station, rideshare pickup location. And the reason that it's probably allowed to operate is because it's not right on the border. And most of the people arriving there have already been apprehended or had an encounter with Border Patrol. Some of them even have already been detained. They've got the immigration paperwork with them, and now they're parolees of the court and they are allowed to reside in the country while they wait for their court date. Which means that there's actually nothing illegal going on at that gas station, even if it looks like it might not exactly be part of the solution to America's immigration issues. But if US authorities and Canadian Mounted Patrol both are aware that cartels are benefiting from all of this, why did Canada change its visa requirements recently, and why aren't they changing it back? Do they not care that these cartels are operating along their border with us?
We have relevant intelligence that the Mexican cartels are involved, but there are also other organized crime groups. If we're looking at the Indian nationals, we know that they're being recruited in India, and that they're being...
So what's fascinating about this is that the entire world seems to know what the system is at the US border, the southern border and the northern border, and everyone knows how to game that system to gain access into this country if they want to. And there very well may be perfectly legitimate reasons why Canada has recently updated its immigration policies. They're their own country with their own problems, and they're certainly not America's enemy, but this whole situation just seems like it's too good to be true, especially for all of the groups that are managing to profit from it, like the cartels and the entire asylum industrial complex that exists in New York that earns millions of dollars caring for unlimited numbers of people that continue coming here on a monthly basis. Which could mean that money is the simple reason why the flow of traffic from both US borders will not shut off, no matter what anyone thinks is the best solution to stop it. And in many ways, the asylum crisis, it's the new gold rush, especially for the companies that are profiting off of it here locally, getting government money to do so, like all of the bankrupt hotels, like the Roosevelt Hotel that went from earning nothing to now being more profitable than it's ever been, because it is now the welcome center for every new arrival that comes here to the city and winds up right here at the bus terminal. And with cartels and gangs never missing an opportunity to make money off human suffering and tragedy, we can't expect that any of this is going to stop anytime soon. Or at least if it is going to stop, those two groups of people are probably not the people to help us come up with the solutions to do it. What do you think's really going on here? Did you know that the northern border seems to be quite porous and seems to be a new access route into America? And how would America even go about securing the world's largest border with another country if we had to do it all by ourselves? Let me know.
I don't think it's nothing I don't think America could do it. Like board the northern border. I don't think they could do it. I really don't, because if they had to do it themselves, I feel like that could be a joint thing, because they are, unless what Canada can do is they can start like having like they gotta have their passport and stuff like that just to get over to, you know, Canada, and then they need to put up a border, and the Canadians gonna have to just be more strict about they land. They could like start just putting up hot wire fences and stuff like that. That's what they can start doing, because I mean that's what people in the South do to keep they cattle and all like that in. So I mean, start putting up hot wire, because if you don't do it, they gonna jump over it. But you know, they probably cut that down. I don't know, but I know one thing: America couldn't do it by themselves. They couldn't do it by themselves. I know that much. So I don't know, you guys. Like, this is starting to. I did not even know like they could do that. They could take a flight from wherever their country is and go to Canada and then just get like a 500 mile or whatever like that. You know, like taxi or whatever like that, and coming to New York. I didn't know that they could do that. I thought this is all it came from the southern border, not the northern one. That's how you learn something new every day. But I just wish we could get something like that under control. You know, immigration problem. I really wish we could get that under control, because we're not gonna be able to eat anything unless we grow it, and barely gonna have any jobs. So I feel like we should just all become farmers and just go on our merry little way. Because that's what we're finna have to do. I'm finna start learning how to garden. I'm finna be looking on YouTube for garden videos and how to take care of a garden. And that's what I'm finna be doing. Because I mean, summer's almost over, but I can still figure out a way how to do it. My granddad, I think he could do fall plants, and that's what I'm gonna get to doing. So you guys just tell me how y'all liked the video, and I will catch y'all with the next one. Bye, you guys.